We talk a lot about war on this channel. We talk about the chaos of the front lines, the thunder of the artillery, and the desperate moments that earn a Medal of Honor under fire. But what happens when the guns go silent? What happens when the greatest threat isn't an enemy soldier, but the crushing weight of the ocean or the thin, freezing air of the Arctic? Today, we're looking at the men who didn't wait for a war to show what they were made of. These are the peacetime recipients, men who risked everything for a shipmate or a milestone, proving that bravery doesn't need a battlefield to be absolute. Let's start in the dark. It's May 23rd, 1939. The USS Squalus is on a routine test dive off the eastern seaboard. It's a submarine that is about to become a steel trap at the bottom of the Atlantic. A massive main air induction valve failed to close, causing the engine rooms, crew's berthing compartment, and aft torpedo room to flood rapidly, forcing the submarine stern first to the ocean floor. All 26 men in the aft sections drowned immediately. The crew released a marker buoy with a telephone line to alert the surface, and the next day the USS Falcon arrived to commence the rescue operations. Because the Squalus is 240 feet or 40 fathoms underwater, it's at a depth traditional divers in scuba gear cannot reach. On this mission, they employed the newly developed McCanned rescue chamber. It's total darkness, freezing temperatures. Most of us would struggle to breathe in that environment, let alone work. Let me know what you think in the comments. Enter Chief Machinist Mate and senior member of the rescue chamber crew, William Batters. And he wasn't there to fight a war. He was there because 33 men were still alive and trapped in a sinking hull. Over the course of the next 13 hours, Batters and the rescue crew retrieved the 33 survivors, including the commanding officer, Lieutenant Oliver F. Naquin. During peacetime, service can be routine and perhaps even boring. Batters showed us that true service is staring into the abyss and deciding that someone else's life is worth more than your own comfort or your own safety. If Batters worked in the abyss, Henry Briot worked in a panic. It's 1923. The USS 05, an O-class submarine commissioned for World War I, is on a routine patrol in the Panama Canal zone. While preparing to transit the Panama Canal, suddenly the deck tilts. It's a collision with a steamship, the SS Aben Garaz, owned by the United Fruit Company. The 05 is taking on water and she's going down fast. The order is given, abandon ship. The crew scrambles for the hatches. It's pure survival instinct. But Briot, he is in the process of evacuating the submarine when he realizes that his shipmate, Lawrence Brown, is still on board and asleep. The ship is groaning, listing, deathly close to slipping under the waves. Any second, the pressure could crush the hull or the water could seal them in forever. Briot doesn't look at the exit hatch. He looks back into the dark. He goes down to the forward torpedo room, secures his shipmate, seals the watertight hatch, trapping himself and fellow sailor Brown inside. After 31 hours in the dark, breathing the most foul air, the salvage crew lifted the bow out of the nearly 50 feet of water and the two men climbed out. 3 men died and 16 others escaped. Briot, he didn't just save a life, he defied the inevitable, becoming the first submariner and only enlisted man in the U.S. submarine force to receive the nation's highest military honor. That's the kind of a decision that happens in a heartbeat, yet it echoes for a century. Now, from the depths of the Panama Canal, We shift to the top of the world. It's 1926. Richard E. Byrd and Floyd Bennett. Bennett, a Navy Chief Aviation Pilot, and Byrd, Navy Lieutenant Commander and Navigator. They took off in their triple-engine Fokker monoplane named Josephine Ford from Spitsbergen, Norway on May 9th, 1926. And they're headed for the North Pole. The North Pole. If the ocean is a pressure cooker, the Arctic is a vacuum of ice and wind. There was no enemy here, just the absolute indifference of nature. Byrd and Bennett were pioneers. They were betting their lives on an aviation technology that was still in its infancy. They pushed through mechanical failures and the constant threat of a forced landing on the ice. Now, that's a death sentence for any crew. By reaching the pole, they weren't just checking a box on a map. They were expanding the horizon for all of humanity. Bennett at the controls, Byrd navigating. It took nerves of steel. They had to trust that monoplane and those engines, when the ground is nothing but a frozen graveyard. They showed us that the same above and beyond spirit that wins wars is exactly what drives us to conquer the unknown. Now, there is controversy regarding whether Byrd and Bennett actually made it to the pole, but that's for a different channel. Here, it's about the Medal of Honor. Now, we've been deep underwater and high above the Arctic ice, but sometimes the greatest acts of valor happen in the blink of an eye, right off the side of a ship. It's February 11, 1898. We're with the USS Cushing, the U.S. Navy's first steel-hulled torpedo boat. It's cold, the water is churning, and suddenly the unthinkable happens. In heavy seas, Ensign Joseph C. Breckinridge is washed overboard. Now, on a moving vessel in rough water, a man in the drink, he's as good as gone. Most would yell for a lifebuoy. Most would wait for the boat to turn around. Not Daniel Atkins and John Everett's. Atkins was a ship's cook, and Everett's a gunner's mate, third class. They weren't deck officers. They weren't combat specialists. They were sailors. And the moment they saw that an officer was struggling against the current, they didn't hesitate. They stripped off their gear and went into the freezing, turbulent Atlantic. And they did more than jump. They battled the sea to bring him back aboard. When they were pulled back onto the Cushing, they had not saved Ensign Breckinridge, but their attempt was still recognized as an act of pure human courage. As the citation states, they displayed gallant conduct in trying to save him. For their actions, both Everett's and Atkins were awarded the Medal of Honor. Let me know below if you think that the Cushing might have been named in honor of Alonzo Cushing from an earlier episode. He was in the center on the third day at Gettysburg. There's 6 men in 3 different worlds, from the deep pressure of a submarine hull to the endless white of the North Pole and the unforgiving pull of the Atlantic. They prove that the Medal of Honor isn't just a combat award. It's a recognition of the extraordinary potential inside every one of us. It's the choice to run toward the danger when everyone else is running away. Whether in the heat of battle or the quiet of peacetime, some people are just built differently. They are the ones who define what it means to go above and beyond. Thanks for joining us for this look at the quiet valor. My name is Kenny. This has been Gallantry in Action. We'll see you next time. Stay legendary.